If you ever felt like you were running out of ideas when it comes to a bullet journal setup, or you just felt like you were running out of time, I want to share with you guys something that has really helped me, and that is going to be using bullet journal stencils. I find that they're super beginner friendly, and these stencils from Sunny Streak also come with an ebook with a lot of different ideas and inspiration, and even as someone who has been bullet journaling for over 2 years, I absolutely love these stencils because of how much time they save me. I also want to personally thank Sunny Streak for sponsoring this video. Their company is founded by two amazing moms who are passionate about empowering others to fall in love with journaling again, which is why they also gave us a special discount code, so you can use the code JWNadia for 10% off their website sunnystreak.com. Their site only ships to the US for now, but if you're outside the US, you can also find their stencils on Amazon, which I'll link in the description down below. And I can go on and on about how great they are, but let's just get started and show you an example of what these stencils look like. A lot of the weekly spread stencils has been designed to go as a pair, so in this example, I'm gonna show you what the stencil 8A and 8B looks like together. So the first thing that you're gonna do is just line up the stencils to the dots of your bullet journal. These stencils are designed to fit an A5 notebook, so you can use any bullet journal that you want. I'm currently using one from Notebook Therapy. So once you have lined up the stencil to the dots of your bullet journal, I like to put a little paper clip or washi tape to just secure it in place. I find that it really helps for you to trace the stencil and really prevent it from moving all over the place. And from there, it's super straightforward. You just want to trace into all of the little holes in the stencil, and once you're done, you can feel free to remove the stencil and reveal your beautiful spread. Now we're gonna do something similar on the next page with the stencil 8B. However, I'm gonna show you a slight variation on how you can use the stencil. So once I lined up the stencil to the dots of my bullet journal, I'm gonna start tracing the stencil again. However, the great thing about using stencils is that you can also skip some of the lines that you don't want to create as part of that stencil. In the spread that we just created, it actually divides each column into 4 equal sections, and what I like to do is dedicate each section into something different, like you see in the example here. However, when it comes to the weekend, I'm not going to be needing all of these categories, and so instead of creating the little sections inside each column, I'm actually going to skip these lines in the stencil. And so as you can see, for the weekend columns, instead of having 4 equal sections, I'm only going to have 2 sections. And of course, this step is completely optional, but once you're done tracing your stencils, you can also add a pop of color to decorate your spread even more. You can even add some stickers or washi tapes to really decorate it to fit your style. Even though some of the weekly spread stencils were designed to go as a pair, you can also mix and match them to create even more variety. So in this example, I'm going to be pairing the spread 3A and 4B. And I really like pairing the different weekly spread stencils together because I find that it just adds another layer of personalization to your bullet journal setup. So in this example, I really like the 3A stencil because it gives me all of the space I need to write all of my to-do list for all of the activities I need to do throughout the week. But I really like to pair it with the 4B stencil because this one has a lot of space for me to write any additional notes, and I really like this pairing because the 4B stencils allow me to write some of the notes that might not fall into the actual day-to-day task that is included in the 3A stencil. And so as you can see, you can really mix and match the stencils if you find that one stencil isn't giving you everything that you need in your weekly spread setup. So in this example, I decided to fill the columns with a section for meal plan, shopping, gratitude, notes, and upcoming events. And of course, you can also add a pop of color to make it more vibrant. What I like to do is just add some color in the middle of the stencil and write the days of the week in white to make it pop even more. Another great thing about the stencils from Sunny Streak is that you can also mix and match the different elements within each of the stencils themselves. So in this example, I'm going to show you how I'm going to take the weekly spread layout of the stencil 4A. However, I'm also going to combine it with the little habit tracker that's part of the stencil 2A. I remember that when I was first starting to bullet journal, I was really hesitant on buying stencils because I was scared that I would get bored by recreating the same stencils every time. However, I really fell in love with these stencils from Sunny Streak really quickly because I saw how much possibility I had with these stencils, and to this day I still never get bored of using these stencils. I find so many different variety and possibilities that it's never boring, and I can always create a new version of the weekly spread every single time. And I'm really curious to hear how you feel about using stencils in your bullet journal. Are you in the same spot that I was where you're hesitant in even buying your first stencil? Or have you already tried them and have some experiences with them? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'd really love to hear your bullet journal story. Another quick tip when using these stencils is that if you don't want to draw all of the small little lines, what you can do is draw the first line and the last line of that section, and then you can also use a ruler to connect these two dots, and I find that this is a little bit faster than tracing every single little line, so you can also use this method if you want to. Now, I want to take some time to explain the habit tracker because sometimes I get a couple of questions about how I use a habit tracker in my bullet journal. So one of the first things that I like to do is make sure that I have a column for each day of the week, and then I want to write all of the habits that I want to track during that week. And then in the little habit tracker table, there's a couple of things that you could do. You can either write an X if you have completed it, you can even make a little symbol like a little heart, you can fully color in the square, or you can also write a numerical number if you're tracking something numerical. So for example, instead of getting 8 hours of sleep, you can even write 7, 6, or 5 in the little squares of the habit tracker. And of course, you can just finish your weekly spread setup by writing the days of the week in the little sections. Something else that I really like to do in my bullet journal setup is to also include a monthly spread next to my weekly spread. I find this really helpful, especially for school or work, because it really helps you have an overview of the whole month, and it really helps you stay on top of all of the things that is coming up in the weeks forward. So whether you have a major deadline for projects or even an important exam to prepare for, I find it really helpful just to have them side by side. So in this example, I'm also going to pair it with the stencil MS3. Now I also want to talk about the amazing habit tracker stencils from Sunny Streak, because when it comes to my bullet journal setup, I find that the thing that takes me the longest is always my habit tracker setup. And I really hope that I'm not alone in this, so hopefully these stencils are able to help you save time with your bullet journal setups as well. So the first habit tracker stencil that we're going to create is going to be this square habit tracker. This is actually something that I use in my June bullet journal setup, but I actually got a lot of questions about how I use the habit tracker itself, and so I really want to take the time to really walk you guys through the different ways that you could use this habit tracker in your bullet journal. And the first part is really straightforward. All you want to do is line up the stencil into your bullet journal and just trace it as you normally would. You could also decorate it by having a nice header at the top, or you can also decorate the middle of the tracker like how I did in my June bullet journal setup. And this is just a little bonus tip, but because there is a little bit of space at the bottom, I also like to put a little reward section, so it really helps me stay motivated with my habits. So now let's talk about actually filling the habit tracker itself. The first thing that you want to do is write out all of the habits that you want to track in the first long line of the habit tracker. And following the first long line, there's actually 31 smaller lines for you to actually track your habits. If you want to make it simpler for you, you can also dedicate a column into the dates of each line. And so what I did is dedicate one section to the date and just write 1 to 31 to write down each day of the month. And so for each habit, you can use the smaller lines to track whether you've completed it or not for each day of the month. So for example, you can either write an X if you completed it or a dash if you haven't completed it. You can also fully color in that section if you want something a little bit more visual. You can also create a set of symbols that is associated to a certain rating. So for example, you can create an empty circle for a bad rating, a half colored circle for a medium rating, and a fully colored circle for a good rating. And of course, you can also write a numerical value if it's something that can be quantified. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you might know that I'm absolutely obsessed with circle trackers. My goal for 2022 was to get started with meditating and make it more of a daily habit, and I remember it being such a difficult habit to get started with, and it was actually circle trackers in my bullet journal that helped me stay more consistent with it. And it was really because of how visual it was and the fact that I didn't want to leave as part of the circle to be empty. It actually really helped me to get started with a habit that I thought was impossible to get started with. And I was so excited when I saw this circle habit tracker from Sunny Streak because it was absolutely perfect for what I needed. When I was making my circle tracker before, I was using a duct tape to create an outline for the circle, and then I was just dividing the circle randomly with creating lines, and so it looked a little bit messy. And so that's why I'm so happy to have discovered these stencils, because not only does it take a quarter of the time, it's also a lot neater and more organized. When it comes to my circle trackers, I really like to keep it visual, so what I like to do is create a little legend with different colors to really showcase the different ratings that I want for my habit tracker. And so for this example, I decided to go with 3 different shades of blue to really track how well I did my morning and my night meditation. And as you can see, the middle column is perfect for you to write out the dates throughout the circle tracker, so it's easy for you to keep track of it throughout the month. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video and got a lot of ideas on how you can use stencils in your bullet journal setup. Let me know in the comments down below how you feel about using stencils in your bullet journal, and if you're interested in getting these stencils for yourself, don't forget to use the code JWNadia to get 10% off your order. Thank you guys so much for watching. Put a little heart if you made it down to the very end, and I hope to see you in another video.